Discover how to get so healthy you don't need medication in today's episode with Dr. Kathy Campbell. And she's a pharmacist and she has lost significant weight with her weight loss formula. And what she advocates is that you need to get healthy so that you can live a thriving life. And she will tell us all about how we can all do that. So, Dr. Kathy, please tell us, how can entrepreneurs and people in general, what do they need to do in order to be so healthy they don't need medication? Heal Podcast with Lily Patrascu shares longevity and anti-aging techniques to stay young forever, increase energy, overcome addiction, and live your longest, best life ever. Shared by world's most innovative, alternative, and traditional health thought leaders, healers, and doctors. Discover quantum healing strategies to heal your mind, body, and soul.
You know, health is a journey. Health is vitality and health is function. So first of all, when you look at what is health, it basically, I define it as being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it and having the body that supports that. You know, when I look at as a pharmacist and somebody who has been helping patients for 33, 35 years, taking a medication should not be our goal. Not needing the medication is the goal. And the way to do that is to eat well, have lots of oxygen, have lots of sunlight, drink lots of water, move, and love and connect, have lots of love and connection. So there are some fundamentals. I do point that out in my new book. And we talk about the basics. So it's about journeying well and having the basics for your body to operate well.
Thank you. Where can entrepreneurs get started to get healthy? Imagine that most entrepreneurs tend to be very stressed. They tend to be overwhelmed and burnt out, and oftentimes they have a lot of chronic diseases. So in my case, I've been suffering from sore throat and cough for the last 10 years, and I haven't managed to find a cure or even manage it well in the sense of being able to even do my work. So like me, other entrepreneurs may have other conditions that they suffer from quietly and that create a big impediment to doing their work.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And often we are the last on our list. Okay. So first and foremost is to put yourself and your well-being at the top of the list, right? And what that means is you've got to assess your own function, and you have to have that as good as it can be to be able to go down the entrepreneurial journey. I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. I have created an entire new way in my field of pharmacy. And it's not always easy, but there are things you cannot, they're hard and fast. You have to take care of them. You have to sleep, right? You have to eat good nutrition. Good nutrition is the easy part, and it's not easy, right? And I think more than even that, you have to build a team around you that supports your health and well-being. You cannot do it alone when it comes to health. Now, I think there should be a pharmacist on every team because as a wellness pharmacist, I help people assess and optimize all the biochemistry of their body, whatever they're putting in their body. And frankly, today we're putting more chemistry in our body than in the history of humanity, but nobody has a chemistry expert helping them. So on your team, you may need a great physician partner. You may need a good masseuse. You may need a farmer. If you don't have a great hairdresser, you should have a hairdresser on that team because they help you manage your machine such that it is in top form. Now, if you have a specific issue, then you've got to get people that can look through that issue and support you in that in multiple ways.
Thank you. Where can entrepreneurs get started to kind of figure out what could potentially make them healthy? Because oftentimes there are some diseases that they haven't found a solution for, and doctors haven't been able to find a solution for.
Well, here's the deal. You're the only you. Okay. There's never been a you before. You're a unique biochemical experiment, right? So often you will not find the answers at one doctor because frankly, the doctor doesn't know what's going inside you, right? And what's happening. So what it is going to be, like in all entrepreneurship, is a partnership with these different practitioners, and you just can't give up. You have to persist until you talk to the right person that sees your situation in a way that can help it. Now, with standard medicine, there's lots of options, but there's also, because of the internet, we have lots of options to botanical therapies, nutritional therapies, lifestyle therapies, quantum therapies. We're starting to see light therapies and sound therapies starting to come in. So, but here's the deal. You're in charge. Just like all entrepreneurship, it is your ship to run and to advocate for yourself. Building that team and creating a dialogue with your practitioners, and then having somebody support you in navigating a new way. And in your situation or most conditions, so I coach a lot of people in diseases, and we are working to have them have great lives at any stage. And we reverse disease process all the time. But it is a journey that is theirs. It is their journey. It's not the physician's journey. It's not the pharmacist's journey. So you need people that empower you and educate you on that journey.
Thank you. Are there any particular supplements or activities or habits or apps that can be used by all entrepreneurs, regardless of what types of conditions that they may have, in order to optimize their general wellness, even if they, let's say, they don't have any particular disease?
Well, first and foremost, you can't get away from the fact that we all have to eat a certain kind of nutrition, right? Lots of plant and lots of protein. Now, there's lots of different ways to do that, but I tend to look at the ones that have you live longer, which is a Mediterranean-based eating approach. So lots of plant and lots of protein. And we have been told for decades to eat less. And I'm here to tell you that's wrong. You've got to eat a heck of a lot of the right stuff. So an entrepreneur should prioritize good nutrition. If you don't have good nutrition, you do not have good energy. You do not have good cognition. You don't have good mental health. You're depressed often. But it's all because of that biochemistry, first and foremost. Second of all, we can utilize lab work to see if there's a unique situation for you. So sometimes we will assess labs from a nutrient standpoint to see, do you have enough? And, you know, we're all different. So taking that in context with you is how we go on that path of potential supplementation. But remember, you cannot supplement. You have to get the diet right, because there's 26,000 chemicals in foods, and we only have about 150 in supplements. So food is the way to go, first and foremost. And then we assess to make sure you're not deficient in certain nutrients. For women, iron is a big deal. And often, because they're on birth control, we see an induced B vitamin deficiency that because of those hormones. So women need extra B vitamins anyway. So some of those things can be a great baseline in the foundational support. But again, food first. Third of all, is movement. Okay. What we know about movement, or some people call it exercise, but I don't like the word exercise because it sounds punitive. Humans need to move. They don't necessarily need to do what we call exercise. And critical to movement is the circulation of oxygen deep into your cells. It is the oxygen that drives the production of energy. And again, if you don't make good energy on your cellular assembly lines, you are not going to have what it takes and the energy you need to be an entrepreneur and meet the demands that requires. And lastly, you have to have people around you that you love and connect with. Right. And I know as an entrepreneur, there's an excitement and a thrill and a connection with that process often, but there's also negative stress with entrepreneurship. There's a lot of demands and worry. And so having a place to have somebody support you in that is critical to your health. the most powerful chemistry we have for health is love, and second to that is food. So it is important that the entrepreneur not be alone. And I think being alone is often part of being that entrepreneur personality. So I invite them to reach out and get mentorship, get support, volunteer, contribute back into your community, serve. Those things not only will help your personal journey and your personal health, but it'll also likely expand your entrepreneurial path.
Thank you. What are some potential nutrients that you find a lot of women are missing in their diet that is kind of leading to them kind of becoming overweight? And from that, a lot of spiraling issues could occur as well.
It's a great question. And I actually created a personal brand of supplements, because as a pharmacist, I know that most of the supplements that are out there aren't very high quality and can actually hurt people. So as a pharmacist, I wanted to make sure that I had on market for my patients a quality line. And I have what I call the essentials. So I have a very good multi with iron. And most women, especially if they're menstruating, are low in iron. And iron is a critical nutrient that you should not be low in. But the multi with iron, and then magnesium is a mineral that is responsible for over 300 different reactions in the body. I kind of think of magnesium the same way I think as oxygen, right? It's really important. And we get it with our nuts. So we should be eating nuts every day, or green leafies. And we're all pretty deficient. So it is one of my essential nutrients. And then the last one is omega-3 fats from fish oils. We evolved eating fish. Most of human history had fish as part of our diet. And over the last actually 10,000 years, 5,000 years, 100 years, we have less and less fish routinely. And that critical fat is not as present and is deficient. And that can impact a lot of our nervous system, our brain health, and our just general processing. And then one more I would add is to make sure your listeners get assessed for vitamin D. Because we don't run around naked 12 hours a day, we are not getting exposed and having the conversion of vitamin D in our skin. And so we're often very low in it. The other thing that has us be low is we eat a high sugar, high processed food diet, which causes a lot of inflammation. Our body will utilize vitamin D to make anti-inflammatory to try to fight that. And so that makes us particularly low. So a great multi with good active B vitamins in there, multi with iron, a magnesium with an amino acid salt form I like, and the omega-3s and the vitamin Ds. Those are my critical ones. Those are where I start with people. They may need more than that in another realm, but I think that's a great basic place to start.
Thank you. How can entrepreneurial women counteract the negative impact of drinking 5 coffees a day? And what supplements or what nutrients should they be getting from elsewhere to counteract that negative impact, aside from actually, quitting and reducing the number of coffees?
Well, I think it depends on coffee itself. I think coffee itself is medicinal. Dark chocolate is medicinal. But too much of it can be very acidifying for the gut and for the whole system. So I tend to try to limit that and potentially start substituting something like green tea. Green tea is very medicinal. You can put an herbal tea in there as well and start kind of transitioning and potentially lowering the amount. Now, the other thing is if you're getting a lot of stimulation from the caffeine and you're relying on that stimulation to have your brain work, that tells me that you're not making good energy. Okay. And we're having to beat up your system with this stimulant to get your brain to function. So when I start getting the diet right and the nutrients right, guess what? You don't need near as much coffee. That natural energy production, your chemical assembly lines start working, your metabolism starts working, and the brain starts benefiting from that. So I think the use of the coffee is symptomatic of not having enough of what we need.
Thank you. For women that are about to enter menopause, in perimenopause or about to enter menopause, what do you suggest that they take in terms of supplements to make sure that they have a relatively normal menopause and don't experience too many drastic you can say, effects on their health and on their brain fog, or so many potential side effects that could impact their work in a very drastic way?
That's a great question. And I think there are times in a woman's life that they absolutely need a support team around them. And perimenopause and menopause is definitely that time. The critical thing to take away from that conversation is you do not want to be deficient in estrogen and progesterone. Okay. And that should be something your physician helps you with. The research is very clear. Deficiency in those hormones has a woman age much more rapidly and often causes symptoms and side effects and disease states we don't want. The benefits of hormone replacement during that period and beyond are outweighing any risks. So you need a partner in that journey. You need several. It could be, I am a compounding pharmacist who has compounded bioidentical hormones for decades. I am partners with my patients, and then we partner with the physician to make sure that patient is well supported, well educated as to the process, and has a team that they know is there that cares and takes care of them. So the key take home is, yes, you've got to have the nutrition right. Yes, you've got to have the movement right. But you also cannot be deficient in those critical hormones. And don't let a doctor tell you it's okay to be deficient.
Thank you. For those women that have a device, like a contraceptive device, how can they counter that with good nutrients in their food?
It's a great question. So with hormonal devices, which is like an implant or an IUD, you want to make sure that your liver is processing hormones and working really well. So that's when you make sure that you have, there are supplements, but also in food, like your cruciferous vegetables, your broccolis, help your liver process that. And again, because you've got those added hormones, you need a little bit extra B vitamins in that. So I think those are critical things to just make sure your body can handle those chemicals and detoxify as they come out. And a lot of these hormones, believe it or not, come out in our bowel. So when we have a bowel movement, that's when the hormone is excreted, and we don't want them to hang around, because if we hang around, they do bad things. We want them to be processed out of our system. And for women, we do not want to be constipated. So that is one of the things that we got to make sure that we have good bowel function. We have enough magnesium for that to work. And so that could be one clue that we help women with to make sure that part of their system is working right and they can get those chemicals out and the toxins of our day out.
Thank you. Why do people why do people put on weight despite perhaps eating what they believe to be the right thing? No, it's a great question. It's because estrogen is a critical hormone. And when we stop making estrogen, your body has to find that estrogen. So one of the ways, when your ovary stops making estrogen, your body says, oh, we need more estrogen. The other way we can make estrogen is through fat. So the body will literally generate its own fat to now produce estrogen. So we see that a lot in that 35 to 40, 40 to 60 age. It really hits hard towards the later 50s, because the first phase is when the progesterone starts to go down and the estrogen is still relatively high. But when we get to the late 50s, the estrogen plummets and the body says, we got to put some fat on, and that fat needs to make estrogen. So it really, that fat gain is your body taking care of the brain. It's that body taking care of the bones because it knows it needs the estrogen. Thank you. What kind of nutrients or superfoods should entrepreneurs eat in order to slow down aging and feel healthy for longer?
It's a great question. Lots of great protein and lots of great plant. So green leafy vegetables, lots of herbs, lots of beans, but more than that, fish, omega-3 fish, fatty fish. You want good, any kind of proteins. Those are critical. And then the other thing is very little sugar. Okay. So we know that sugar is what causes a lot of the damage to the brain. It's what causes a lot of the cardiovascular disease. It causes a lot of aging issues. So minimizing the amount of sugar you put into your body of any form will have you live longer.
Thank you. For entrepreneurs having a high carb and high sugar diet, what are the potential risks?
Well, the research is pretty clear. You're going to have what happens with high sugar is it damages the blood vessel. So imagine scratching the blood vessel and then the body repairing the scratch on the inside of the blood vessel. So that happens with sugar that's elevated. And sugar gets elevated one of two ways. One is from the dietary intake, the other is from stress. Okay. So when we're stressed a lot and we're running around stressed, the body elevates the sugar so you can run from that lion. So those two things literally damage the blood vessels. Now, in our heart, we have really big blood vessels. So the body will repair them. And that turns out to be cardiovascular disease. But probably that's more impactful is the little bitty, teeny tiny capillaries throughout the body and in the brain. When they're scratched, they collapse. And so often you will see early dementia, blood flow issues in the brain. You might see eye issues, kidney issues, nerve issues, because those tiny little blood vessels have been damaged by sugar. So sugar is a big deal. And we've been told to eat way too many carbohydrates in our crazy world we're in our culture. So shifting that over to a plant-focused and protein-focused eating approach where you eat a whole lot of that, but you minimize those sugar and the high carbs, it will make a huge impact on the function and the quality and longevity.
What about if you have a high protein, high plant diet, but you don't have any carbs? What impact will that have and potential risks on health?
Well, there are carbohydrates in plants. So I think if you eat the right plant-focused approach, you will have a healthier, longer life. Now, there's non-starch. There's lots of different plants, like I said, and there needs to be a variety of them. And a good wellness pharmacist or a nutritionist can definitely help put that out. But the research is fairly clear that the Mediterranean or the low glycemic Mediterranean is the approach to follow. But key to that is it's a lot of food. You have to consume, digest, and process a lot of foods. And remember, your gut has to work well. So if you eat a lot of great food and you take a lot of supplements, but your gut doesn't work, it didn't get into the bloodstream. So critical to all that is making sure the medications you take don't interfere with that, or that your gut is working optimally.
Thank you. How do you recommend entrepreneurs reverse aging that they have already created and diseases they have already created through a bad diet of, let's say, high carbs and high sugar?
Well, I don't look back very much. I just look forward. So first is setting the intention that I want to go a certain way, right? So that's setting your goal and your direction. Then setting the team up around you to have a plan and go through a process, because the brain doesn't like to change. So it's going to need some support in that change, and it takes a little bit of time. So you got to set the expectation for that. One of the best tools I've found is continuous blood glucose monitoring. So we have these new devices that we can put on people and see in real time what their body is doing with that glucose. And it really helps to correlate this causes this. And like I said, it's not just food. It might be activity causes an effect. It might be, stress from a child causes an effect as well. So those that coaching process, that directional process is the way we do it. And it's very successful because if you do it right and you start learning about your unique machine, you never forget it.
Amazing information, Dr. Kathy. You are wonderful. Tell us where entrepreneurs can find you.
I am in a little pharmacy right now at 76 in Main in Owasso, Oklahoma. My pharmacy is called Medicap Owasso Wellness Pharmacy and Compounding. But you can also find me on the internet at drkathysays.com. I'm also on Instagram and I'm around Facebook as well. So feel free to reach out to me. I love to coach people. My new book is out there, and the book is written for individuals. It's written for my patients, but it's cited for professionals. So it has a great, if you want to go deeper in any of the issues, it's there. It really does walk you through the basics of what you need to live a long and rocking life.
Thank you. Follow me for more interviews with world's most innovative health change makers to live your healthiest life ever.